Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of MTD North America. Today, I am with my friend Steve, and we are in Kentucky at an amazing place called Starrag. I have learned from Starrag that there are some really important aspects to their process. Precision, being able to do a one-off machine, and service. Now, Steve is the expert when it comes to service. In fact, if you guys get in touch with Starrag, there's a good chance you're going to talk with him. But Steve is that service expert. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how Starrag can support you and your machine and all of the service aspects that go along with it. So Steve, thank you so much for being a part of MTD and allowing me to come into your Starrag building today.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks. And you're right. If someone calls, they're probably going to get a hold of me or someone on our team. And when we talk about service, let's say that being a customer, you really don't want to call service. And so when you are, there's probably something wrong, or you have an issue, or you need something. So it's our job to make that entire process as easy and as painless as possible. You know, I'm not talking about any forms to fill out, no special request forms, something as simple as a telephone call, an email. You know, again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can call us and somebody will answer the phone. Will they be able to answer your question and solve your problem 24 hours, 7 days a week? Honestly, no, but they'll get the ball rolling. They'll ask a few basic questions and we'll get the process started to take care of whatever your request may be it a spare part or be a problem, an issue, or even something as simple as a preventative maintenance, taking care of your machine.
Well, Steve, you touched on this a little bit, but I think it's important to reiterate. When something goes wrong, most of the time we're at a high level of stress and anxiety, right? And so you mentioned we're going to do everything we can to make that easy for you. And that's a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week type of service that you guys have here.
Correct.
So we all know that when our machine is down, we're losing money.
Right.
And so could you go in a little bit more and say, guys, this is what we do to help you reduce that blood pressure and try and get your machine up and going right away?
No, that's correct. I mean, we have either be a centralized email that could be written by someone. If the person that has a problem doesn't have access to email or a computer, they can pick up a telephone call. The idea behind this entire process is that it'll be viewed by a person which is on call to receive that information. And let's keep in mind that we're a global company. So the person that could be receiving that call could be a 6-hour time zone away in Europe, or it could be here in the United States, or it could be 3 hours away in the West Coast. The point being, get back to the customer as quickly as possible with an answer on what the next step is to help them towards solving their problem.
Well, one of my pet peeves, Steve, and it might be with you as well because you're in the industry, is when I call someone and I get a computer.
Yeah.
And you are a global company, but it sounds like at least I'm going to get a human, even if the time zone is Europe to the west coast of California, and maybe even more broad than that, but I'm going to get a human that's going to talk to me, right?
That's correct, Tony. You'll get a human being that'll talk to you. Again, will that human being be able to tell you what the alarm means on that Siemens 840D controller or the Fanuc 31i we have behind us? Maybe, maybe not. But if they don't, at least they're going to listen to you, they're going to take them for your problem, and they're going to get at the people that can answer the question and get you an answer back as quickly as possible.
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's some people in our audience as well, I'm sure. But sometimes I just want to yell at somebody, and the robot just doesn't let me yell at them the way I want to. But with that being said, you guys have recently moved a main storage facility or a main parts facility from Texas up to the local area here in Kentucky. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's correct. We moved our entire logistics where all of our spare parts are centralized in one warehouse in North America. And that used to be Dallas-Fort Worth. We relocated that here to Hebron, Kentucky, take advantage of the expansion of the airport here, CVG, all the flights we have in and out, and then also to give us a lot better control over the spare parts themselves, logistically and physically, touchy-feely, you know, because all the team that manages the spare parts is also working out of this office. They're the people that would identify the part that's needed, verify whether there's an update for that part or some subsequent part that can replace it in the event that something's not immediately available. Again, with the whole purpose to get the customer what they need as quickly as possible.
And I'm sure you've seen some, real productivity that comes from that change from Dallas-Fort Worth up to where you are now, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's probably a perfect thing to mention. We measure everything when it comes to the spare parts process, as well as every request when a customer is calling. We're time stamping, measuring, recording the request, so we can not only measure what we're doing, but also take reference if a case reopens. Say, for example, we think a case is solved. We say, for example, well, you need this. And we do that, and we think the case is solved, but let's say a month later it's not solved, like an unbalanced tire on your car or something like this. So the idea is to measure, and this process allows us to track our performance, that is like the delivery of the spare parts or the availability to give a technician to a customer, all of these different points.
Yeah, those are very valuable points in my opinion. And one thing that I also found valuable in addition to that is the amount of inventory you guys carry. And when I think of a company that's maybe not housed in the US,
right,
I think of, well, what am I going to do about spare parts? What am I going to do if I go down? So you guys, for the most part, have somewhat remedied that issue by just having a massive amount of inventory here in Kentucky.
That's correct. And I mean, there is a science behind it. We're not just taking truckloads of parts and putting them on shelves. What we're doing is we know this machine, we know this machine, we know all of our machines globally and how they react in the market. And what we're doing is we know what parts can fail, we know what parts will fail, and we know the severity, the impact of that part's failure to the machine's performance. And we classify those parts into a basic matrix from 1 to 9. 9 being the most serious. If that part fails, the machine is down, to 1 being something minor, like, let's say, for example, an air filter. So what we're doing is we're really striving to keep these critical, necessary spare parts available immediately for a customer. And these are typically your 7s, your 8s, and your 9s. Everything else, standard wear part packages, we keep all that so a customer calls. Because believe it or not, a lot of customers, in the unlikely event that they do have a problem, they usually want to take advantage. Say, hey, while you're here and you're doing this issue, can you go ahead and give my machine a maintenance service, which means exchanging what needs to be exchanged, filters, air filters, oil, things of this nature.
To me, that's, pretty clever. I think it's important, as you've mentioned, to make sure that maybe the harder to get pieces, the ones that, let's hope that things don't break often, but the ones that do happen to have more coincidence of a operator error or something like that, that those are in stock more so than something that either you can get at a Home Depot or somewhere else around the block or whatever it might be, right? So that type of cleverness also provides that incredible service that you guys offer for those machines.
That's correct, Tony. I mean, again, what you touched on as far as commercial availability of spare parts for machine tools, everybody knows that not everything is coming directly from the manufacturer of that tool. They are using some standardized, let's call it catalog spare parts. The spare parts manuals, the documentation we provide for our machines, it's totally transparent where that part's coming from, who makes it, manufacturer part number is right there. If you want to buy that hide and hind part from us or buy it from, I don't know if I could say a manufacturer, but buy it directly from the manufacturer, buy it from us, that's, as an end user, that's your decision.
Right, and based on what you have in inventory, which to my understanding is, somewhere above $1 million in inventory, how quickly can a customer receive a part and have their machine up and running again if if it's one of the millions of dollars of parts in that inventory?
Oh, it's the next day.
Yeah, next day.
You call us, you need the part, you order it, it's shipped within 1 or 2 hours of the order being placed. It's shipped.
And if they need someone from service side of Starrag, that person is there as well to help them install it?
That's correct. I mean, 100% of the time, next day for a service tech that can do that particular job, that's impossible. In my opinion, that's impossible. But we do it a very high percentage of the time. Very high percentage. Worst case, 2 days.
Yeah, I think that's important to make note of because there are places that have massive inventory of parts, right? But if you don't have a guy or a gal to install that,
right,
then it's just going to sit there even if it was shipped next day or not.
No, Tony, you're right. And just to touch on that point a little bit, it's also about our customers and what our customers expect when it comes to service. I mean, not everybody needs or requires the same level of service support for their equipment in their shop. We can go from people that have no in-house maintenance and require a very high level of support for their equipment to people that are doing everything in-house and they really only need that spare part. But it's our job to be flexible enough to provide whatever level of support a customer needs in the market.
Well, that comes from experience and wisdom, and you guys have been doing this a long time, since the 1950s here in the U.S. and since the 1800s at its inception.
That's correct.
So
yeah.
that type of wisdom comes from those years of experience.
Correct. Even though I haven't been around that long, but Longer than I care to mention.
Yeah,
here today.
well,
Enough.
that's a valid point,
Yeah.
and we can't all be around since the 1800s, but you have been doing this for a long time, and the experience that you have, you convey that with every message that you convey in this interview right now, in this testimonial right now. So thank you so much for being a part of MTD. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for supporting this industry as a whole.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. Thanks for having me on today.